Hey, everybody, welcome to another great podcast. I'm your host, Val Medved, with John Gray of Hangar Z Podcast and Fame. And today, we're going to take a fun ride through the skies and beyond as we explore the remarkable career of one helicopter aficionado. Ladies and gents, let me please introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Maury Wood. In 1992, a move to St. Albert, Alberta marked the start of new adventures for Maury and his entire family. From there, it was a whirlwind of after-school work at Avialta Helicopters under the wings of some pretty experienced engineers. Summers were spent in Yellowknife, way up in the territories, where he lent his skills to GSH, managing stores and ensuring smooth operations on the ground. Fast forward into the late 90s, and our hero, often also known as a snow bunny, embarked upon an educational journey at NAIT, that's Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, diving into the world of Petroleum Engineering Tech. But the call of the skies were too strong for this guy to resist. With Reeves Wireline and Whitecourt, he logged in open holes across Alberta, British Columbia, and Saskatchewan, experiencing the great vastness of our Canadian landscape from above, putting in some pretty serious bush time. 2002 marked a pivotal moment as Maury spread his wings at GSH Flight School, soaring through the curriculum with flying colors and landing a job with a pretty reputable company. For the next decade, he navigated the skies as a line pilot and flight instructor, with a brief detour at Elbow River Helicopters in 2007 for a summer of adventure. Today, he continues to make waves at Avialta, wearing multiple hats from customer support to accountable executive, a little bit of boiler repair, maybe some plunging of some toilets, groundskeeping, and even cooking up a storm when needed. Join us as we unravel the highs and lows and the breathtaking views from toilets to turbulence, the helicopter journey of my good friend, Maury Wood. This is Vertical MRO. Special thanks going out to our sponsors, Bell and Precision Aviation Group.
Welcome to the Vertical MRO Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts.
All right, everyone, you're ready to contact. You're cleared to the Bravo.
The Vertical MRO Podcast explores the fascinating world of helicopter maintenance, repair, and overhaul with your host, Val Medved.
Now, line altimeter 3029, approved as requested.
The podcast features helicopter technicians, mechanics, engineers, and MRO experts who share invaluable industry insight, knowledge, and stories that will inspire current and aspiring industry maintainers.
All right, welcome to this week's Vertical MRO with yours truly, Mr. Val Medved, the host here, and my sidekick and co-host, Mr. John Gray. Say what's up.
Hey, what's going on?
Not bad for a day today here. Kind of another Friday vibes type of video or type of show today.
Yeah, it's been kind of fun recording on Fridays. Kind of gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Nice way to kick the weekend off with what you call it, drink in hand, right? That's
drink in hand, and our guest will accompany that. Today we're dealing with someone that's it's going to be talking to us a little bit today about line pilot, instructor, MRO for a couple of aircraft in the shops, and it's a family-run business here, so he's going to kind of delve into the details of that. Probably the intricacies of what's involved in that. I'm sure it's all simple, especially when family is involved. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Mr. Worry Don't Call Me Tiger Wood. Hi, say hi, Maury.
Hey, how's it going?
Welcome to the show, buddy. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, glad to have you here. Okay, let's we got to get the drink in hand here first and foremost here. Let's mind you, this is going to be an audio only. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Got a Das Boot over here for me from Deutschland.
Nice. Mara, what are you drinking? What's your...
Lucky Lager, mainstay.
Nice. I see you've got it in the red party cup. Everyone knows that's the universal sign for a good time.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, well, I had to smuggle it into my office because the girls up front are wondering what exactly I'm doing. 4:00 on a Friday.
Well, if anybody knows our buddy Maury here, usually you see him without a drink in the hand, you question what's up.
No, yeah, thanks.
I'm not saying that you're anything there, Maury, but you know what I mean? It's just good times had.
What's your drink for today?
Me, I got myself a little bit of a shark fin.
Okay.
In a authentic Das Boot glass.
Is that an IPA or a lager?
Just a light lager. A light lager, yeah.
Okay. I'm rolling with vodka soda. So, yeah, kicking it off. And I feel like I love beer. Beer's one of my favorites, but I feel like as I get older, my body becomes more and more intolerant of beer. You know, I have a half a beer and I have a headache all of a sudden. So,
oh boy.
Well, that's the problem. Why you stop at half a beer?
Yeah. Well, you can. So the two of the three of us here are Canadians here. You can definitely tell when it starts to get warmer outside when the beer intake starts happening more thereof. So yeah, with Maury just kind of in and around Edmonton, and I'm just outside of Winnipeg. Yeah, the beer sales definitely go up, especially when you have, I don't know about you guys, but I have AA meetings. They're called attitude adjustment meetings in the driveway with buddies on Friday afternoon. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the mountains of Southern California, so it's definitely not as cold as where you guys are, but it's still winter and we're coming into spring now. So you're starting to see more and more cars drive around locally that are, not as filthy as they are during the winter. You guys get that? Everyone's car is just filthy from all the snow.
Oh, it's either gray or light gray.
Yeah, salt or non-salted.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Maury's a little closer to the mountains than I am too. So like you get some, you get the free car washes if the moose or elk decide to kind of stop by and lick the side of your car.
Yeah.
So it's actual salt that they put on the roads, huh?
Oh yeah.
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 Wow.
Don't want to get a car from Canada, man. That babe will be rusted out in the quarters hard.
I can see the floorboards coming through pretty quick on those things.
The Flintstone mobile is a common mobile up here, right? So
that's funny.
Again, welcome to the show, Maury. Good to have you, buddy.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah. Big time fan of you and like long time friend of you. So there's thanks for kind of jumping in with us. And we're just kind of this is our little introduction to the MRO side of the world. Where we're kind of keeping people educated and entertained at the same time. So hopefully we'll kind of keep that on the tracks here for too long, and then maybe afterwards we'll get off the tracks. If Maury and I can kind of talk to each other about our stories here, it's the tracks get wobbly after a couple of minutes there too. So I'm okay with this.
Well, the stories change every time we tell them, so they get better and better.
It depends on how many drinks you've had, right?
Yeah.
Yes. The last time I saw Maury, actually, he was on a phone call outside of Heli Expo there. How was Heli Expo for you, buddy? Did you have a good one?
Yeah, it was really good, actually. I thought there was a pretty good turnout. A lot of Canadian operators brought their whole crew. I think just they had such a great summer that, it wasn't just maybe the owners or directors of maintenance coming. There was a lot of flight crew and maintenance crew that came along. So it was good to put some faces to the names that you email with all the time. Anaheim
is yet to disappoint. I know it's usually one of the good spots to stop there. I know Anaheim is usually a pretty good show. Dallas is a great show.
Yeah.
Vegas, everybody goes to Vegas, but nobody goes to the show.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Dallas. I think that's my favorite venue.
Yeah. Yeah.
A ton of stuff to do outside of the show. Like there's a lot of like different events you can go to and take customers, and
that's how I feel about Anaheim too. Anaheim, there's a ton of stuff to do just because there's so many tourists there all the time. They're kind of built to receive that influx of people. So there's a ton of restaurants, a ton of places to take the family. I like that about it.
It's generally easier to get to nowadays. Like I remember that one tragic year they had in Louisville. Ugh.
Did it snow?
Yeah, and it snowed of all things in Louisville. So all the Canadians are like, "Oh, great, we come to this at HEI and it snows. What's this about?" So, or sorry, as the Eastern would say, "What's this about?"
Well, you know what? When we were in Louisville, we left one of the events downtown, and we were staying about 6 or 8 blocks off of downtown. So, of course, being Canadians, we just started wandering back to our hotel, and we rolled up to the hotel, and the guy at the front desk starts looking all confused. He goes like, "Where did you guys come from? I didn't see a taxi." "Oh, we just walked." He goes, "Oh, no, man, you don't walk at night." Like he's like, the only reason you didn't get mugged is probably because somebody thought you were crazy.
Yeah. Man, you're painting us like we're like roaming nomads up here north of the 49th parallel. Come on, man.
Well,
We kind of are, but like, that's our secret, man. That's our Canadian code. Oh, good times, buddy. Good times. Now that you're loosened up a little bit, let's get you feeling a little free here. Like we kind of have these little icebreaker sessions. So I'm going to pop these on you here. What music do you secretly listen to that nobody would expect you to listen to?
You know what? I probably have to say Tina Turner.
Whoa.
Oh,
And there's a bit of a backstory there. My dad bought, I think, the first CD player, Sony CD player, when they first came out. That would have been like 80s, like I'd say mid 80s. And I think he only had 3 CDs. It was like Willie Nelson, Tina Turner, and I can't remember the other one, Foreigner or something. And that CD just went over and over. Like I can sing just about every Tina Turner song off that album.
The cat's out of the bag.
You know, I'm putting you on the spot next time we physically are beside each other. You know.
Oh yeah.
John?
Well, I think I'd have to say it's got to be in the genre of like hip hop. So I, again, growing up and living in the mountains of Southern California, you don't get much wider than living in the mountains of Southern California. So I think people typically expect me to be listening to country or alternative or something. Not that I listen to hip hop very often, but when I do, I always get like a weird side eye. It's either like Wu-Tang from, the 90s.
We know what this is happening. There you go, buddy. Get the vibe.
Yeah.
Nice. Attaboy.
Your DJ days are shining through.
They're
right
coming
now.
through, dude. All I'm missing is some turntables here and people asking me what songs to play. Yeah, that's right. my constant would be like, I'll check on it.
What for you? What music do you listen to that nobody would expect?
Crooner, Michael Bublé. Bing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like old Vegas type of lounge stuff. That stuff is just that's just a different mindset for me. I've really picked up on it.
Yeah, little Frank Sinatra.
Little Luck Be a Lady, man. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. I like it. Yep, I can get down to that. I like it.
Kind of just like I said, especially and that's probably going back to the whole Vegas part of the conversation. Everybody goes to Vegas, but nobody goes to the shows. When you're walking the Bellagio strip there and the water fountains are popping off and they're playing some of that old Sinatra there for you, it's okay, I get it now. I understand why this town was built by who the people that built it.
Right.
Crooked nose.
Maury, you a Sinatra guy?
Oh yeah, I like Sinatra. I like pretty much everything. I don't listen to a lot of music, to be honest. My kids know the words to every song that comes on the radio, but I'm more older music. Like I like Leonard Cohen. I like Sinatra. I like, pretty much like all the old stuff. And I like some cowboy country. I'm not a big fan of pop country, but cowboy country type stuff.
I'm right there with you.
Thank God you didn't say anything because you guys are definitely man card checked off because none of you secretly said Swifty or something. I'm like, this podcast is over.
Yeah, mine was the opposite, little Wu-Tang.
Oh, there he goes. And, so like my youngest son, he's 20 years old and he's adopted a lot of the old hip hop culture. And there's times where I've sit in his car and he's got Wu-Tang, he's got Busta Rhymes, and he was like, how old are you? Right? Like, and he goes, he's like, he's an older soul. He goes, well, he said the most beautiful thing that my ears could ever hear. He goes, today's rap just isn't what it is, Dad. I'm like, I dig it.
Yeah. Music my ears, son.
In 20 years, what invention do you think will be made that will be kind of like, holy crap, I can't believe they made it finally?
Well, I think I have to go with, you guys have seen Back to the Future.
Always best movie ever.
And you know that I can't remember if it's Back to the Future 1 or 2, and he's got the hoverboard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, and we've already hit that year that he went to.
Yeah, that's right.
And I still don't have a hoverboard. Like, they haven't invented one that looks nearly as cool as one he's got. So I'm like, it's gotta be coming any day now.
Right.
It's funny. My kids have a hoverboard. It's called a hoverboard, but it's got wheels. It doesn't hover. Have you seen those? It's
yes.
2 wheels, and kids fall off of it all the time.
I see people bust their ass on it all the time.
It is not a hoverboard. Definitely not a hoverboard.
You hover for all of a millisecond before your tailbone smashes into the floor underneath you.
Absolutely.
You've seen the ones that have the one single wheel?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And you tip forward and back. And there's a dude that rips around in the summertime around my house. And he's a grown ass man. Like, it'd be like Val going ripping around and through the bike paths. I'm going like, what grown man goes by himself on this board? Like, where's he going?
Yeah.
He's just out for a rip. It's like, it's not for exercise. It's just, he's just out ripping around.
Yeah.
That's funny.
With my body size, I'd be like Donkey Kong on one of those little motorcycles there. That's the picture. I'll let you guys envision that as you see fit.
That's funny.
Yep. Mr. Gray, what are you thinking about? What would be like, aha, finally?
I think it's kind of along the lines of what Maury was talking about. It's got to be transportation related to me. I'd like to think it's something along the lines of space exploration, but I don't think 20 years is probably too soon for something like that. I think it's going to be somewhere along the lines of the driverless technology. We're starting to see that here in the States. My brother-in-law actually worked for a couple different companies that are doing driverless taxis. And the concept is really neat, so I feel like that technology and those advances are going to continue. We talked a while back about like my kids could potentially be one of the last generations that kind of know what a steering wheel is and the concept of like driving,
Right.
So I don't know. I think that's kind of where my mind goes. Part of me is excited about that because you think about traffic, and the cause of most traffic accidents are people making bad decisions. And where if you have automation that's driving a lot of this stuff, in theory, a lot of that will go away. But the recreational side of driving is so fun, right? Like off-roading and all those other things, it'd be hard to imagine not driving in that way.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. Mine would be the self-cleaning toilet seat. Just saying. Just saying. For all of our lady listeners out there that your husbands are always doing that stuff, self-cleaning toilet seats, I'm telling you, I should patent that stuff here soon enough. That probably just turned on the light for somebody.
I like the simplicity there.
Yep. Just keeping it real.
Well, the nice thing, do you ever travel through Europe and they have the bathroom? The bathrooms are tiled, wall-to-wall floors, and there's no separation between bathroom and shower. So
Yeah.
when you clean it, you just there's a drain in the middle of the floor and you just hose the whole bathroom down.
How bad of a night? Just think of that. Just think of how bad of a night did you think you had to have that? Oh, I don't know, call up maids, call up your room services and they just bring up the hose. Like how bad of a night do you think you had to have had? Oh, here, cheers. Let's have a drink on that one.
Cheers.
Looking it over here, buddy. First and foremost, thanks for kind of giving us a bit of a brief snapshot of where you came from and how it all started. But I'd like to kind of just get in what you kind of told us here outside of the master toilet and urinal cleaner that you put on as fun as one of your expertises in. Just kind of give us an idea of like where Maury had the decision, or how did it come about that you kind of got into what you're doing now? You kind of just going to shine a little bit of a light and just talk about that.
Bell is proud to sponsor Vertical Helicasts and their vision to hold meaningful mission, safety, and best practice conversations in the helicopter industry. The lessons learned from these conversations will undoubtedly shape the future of both new and veteran helicopter operators.
So I was sort of born into the industry. My dad was a helicopter pilot, flew for Shirley Helicopters up in Yellowknife. So I always grew up with, in the early days, we didn't have a crew house. So the crew always stayed at our house. So you had different apprentices, engineers, pilots crashing on the couch all over the place.
You learned to swear at an early age.
Right. So it was always at the hangar, and I honestly hadn't really decided that's what I wanted to do until I was sort of a bit older, probably in my, late teens. And then that's where I decided we were going to start doing flight training, get my license. And then I got hired on by the then chief pilot, Mark McGowan, gave me my start and shipped off to Yellowknife. So that's the beginning. But prior to that, it was a lot of little jobs. I worked at Avialta as a high school, cleaning floors, doing whatever need be. And then I did some summers up in Yellowknife working for Adam Bembridge and Ian Campbell, who owned Great Slave at the time. They brought me on. As soon as I could drive parts all over, find aircraft and clean helicopters, vacuum, just anything you could possibly do.
That led into then kind of looking at putting the maintenance time into it as well. And that's the trigger.
Well, I started, between Avialta and Great Slave, it was easy to be an apprentice. So the engineers would give you little odd jobs to do. And I started an apprenticeship book, and then I kind of got sucked into flying and fell in love with that, and flew for, 12 years, I guess, for a Great Slave.
In the States, the mechanics are AMPs. It's on their certificate. What's on the certificate for you all in Canada? It's listed as a engineer, or?
Yeah, it's AME.
Okay.
And there's M1, M2, and then the structures guys have an S on their license, and the avionics guys have an E.
So the difference between the M1 to M2, we're talking a 2-year program versus a 4-year program?
No, it's just experience. I shouldn't speak out of turn. It's what you can, I think the size of aircraft you can work on. But yeah, so it's like right now it's a 2-year program if you go full school, or there's a 4-year apprenticeship. So you do 2 months every year, and then you work throughout your whole 4 years. You come out the other end with a license. Whereas the other way, you go to school for 2 years, just like any college, and then you come out and you got apprentice for another 2 years. So a total of 4, I believe, until you get your license.
Okay.
And it's hours worked, and you got to fill out a book with all your tasks. Then you can write your Canadian Air Regs exam and get a license.
There you go.
What are you seeing as some of the major differences between Canada and the US as far as those requirements go?
You know what? We don't really do any work in the US, to be honest. I'm not really sure what the differences are. I know I've worked with some American engineers, and I think most of their experience is it's all pretty much the same. It's experience on type.
Yeah.
Are you finding more like the apprentices that are coming up? Are you finding them harder to find or harder to keep?
In our experience, it's really geographical. If you're from Calgary or you're from Vancouver, you come up to Edmonton. Edmonton doesn't have a lot to offer as far as, if you don't live here, people aren't like running to move here, I guess. So if you're from Vancouver, you come up work.
I'm laughing because I'm from Winnipeg, so I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
People come up and they work, they do their apprenticeship, they get experience. And then, if you're from that lower mainland, where are you going to want to be? So once you can pick where you're going to live, everyone goes home. So just as far as retention, what we've started doing, and John and I talked about it a little bit a few days ago, is we're trying to find kids that, have a mechanical aptitude, find them in high school, bring them on, 18, 19, whatever, have them mow the lawn, help out in the shop. And then we put them together with an engineer that's, a good mentor, and see if they get the bug, see if they want to do it. And if they do, we get them enrolled in school. We like that 4-year apprenticeship program. So they go that 2 months every year, 2 or 3 months, I can't remember. And then we have them for that 4 years. And they turn out to be great engineers. So we've one guy that did this. He came, just like I said, mowed the lawn for a summer and then stayed on. He stayed with us for 10 years. He's 28 years old, and he can do pretty much everything we do here at Avialta. He's moved on. He wanted to go to the operating world and see, chase some fires, go mining, and that really rounds out his experience. We've got another young fella that's halfway done his school. That's a local around Edmonton. And another young guy just lives like a mile from the hangar. He came on board, and he's starting his first year of school here in September. So our goal is to find people that are local, that want to be here, that have connections to the community, family, don't have this aspiration to run away back home to Ontario or Vancouver or Calgary or wherever that be.
Right. Essentially, and that's, I guess maybe that's a beautiful thing about it, especially with what you guys are doing too, is that once you become that AME, and John, John's reference to AMP, you can literally kind of pick the corner of the world you want to go work into. And I gotta assume that's no different coming up from Northern Alberta and going into the territories all the same too, right? So,
and we do have guys that, their families, they're local, they have families here, but they still have that bug to go to whatever mining camp or chase a fire around. And what we find is that these guys, they build up some overtime in their bank plus their vacation time. And they might have 8 weeks off in the summer. And that's sort of typically our slower time. So they might take 4 weeks of that and go wrench for an operator and find themselves in Whitehorse for a month. And that kind of, gets them out of the hangar and gets them a bit of a reset. And I think it's sort of a good balance.
It's pretty impressive. Well, like you said, it kind of gives you the flexibility to kind of really do what you want with your time on it. And if you're gaining that kind of experience away from your job, then you just come back that much, in a tenfold type of capacity.
Yeah. And it's really finding the right person, Val, is I was laughing because I do some of those career days at high school.
Yeah.
And then, there's the kids that, sort of interested, and then there's the kids that totally aren't. But one guy asked if there was any remote work. So I started talking all about, oh yeah, you can go up to the Arctic, you can go. And he's like, no, like work from home.
On turning wrench on a helicopter.
And I'm like, it doesn't really work that way.
You think getting to that kind of conversation, when you're talking to these young kids, where like a wanderlust can be possibly had by some of these younger kids. You got, like when he asks you that question, and I'll even ask you this question here: when you're talking about one of the unique places that you've gone up and you've had to work remotely, where would that be for you? Where would that put you at?
Like where have I worked, or where?
Yeah, well, what's one of the coolest places? Like, you know what, you kind of
man.
finish torquing something down, you're lock wiring something down, and you go, and you try to look around, you're like, holy shit, I'm someplace cool. Like this is a neat spot.
I'd say 90% of the work I've done in aviation, like when I was working field work, was all up in the Arctic. Western Arctic, central to all the way to Eastern Arctic. It is absolutely an amazing place to work. I mean, you got to get over the bugs. There's a few of those. But I've worked in a diamond mine, gold mine, all sorts of fun places. But by far, I think for me, there was one contract every summer that our ops manager gave me, and I don't know why he gave it to me, but take a Long Ranger and go through the Mackenzie Valley.
Oh, wow.
And, I was flying these students around and they were doing all sorts of different biology work. Man, like you're landing at all these rivers in the mountains in the Nahanni National Park, and you're fishing at like every stop. I pull up my fishing rod.
Damn.
Yeah, it's just unreal. And then at the end of it, you get paired up with Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and you go up these rivers and you fish for grayling, and they do the banding, or they mark the fish. And, they're like, yeah, I wonder if you could help us out. I just need you to do some fishing, and you're like,
yeah, shucks.
Okay, so you want me to help you fish in the national park for 10 days. I think I could pull that off. And you just can't believe you're getting paid.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You're going to pay me to do this? I feel like this is a setup.
You're like looking for Ashton Kutcher. Am I being punked here right now?
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like that's obviously the highlights, right? I mean, you never want to talk about the time you got weathered in a camp for 15 days straight in a snowstorm, and you're just sitting in your tent with your engineer. You can only walk so much.
Nobody showered for 15 days and you're just smelling beautiful.
No, you have, it's actually really, those tent camps are really well set up, but it's just the sheer boredom of, you wake up in the morning, you walk to the cook tent and you eat, and then you go nap, and then you eat again. And it's just this revolving door of staring out the window into the white.
And you're, well, when it comes to fishing though, you're in God's country when it comes to that kind of fish up there.
Oh yeah, no, it's unreal. A lot of some of the, like my favorite work was always the biology and wildlife stuff. But you get paired up with some of those fishing crews, and they're going out, like you're going out fishing for Arctic char. Now that's a ton of fun. Like you're right on the coast, you're catching these big Arctic char, and they're
and oh, by the way, you still got to fly and maintain a helicopter.
Yeah.
Oh, life is rough. Life is rough.
I think about operating in the bush up in the Arctic, whether it's as a pilot or a maintainer. You come across some really unique situations. Anything pop up where you're like, man, we were down for maintenance and we needed this one thing and we didn't have it, and this is kind of how we overcame that situation. Do you ever find yourself in a position like that?
Did you MacGyver something is what I'm hearing here?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say that there isn't too many situations where we had to really do much. I mean, the one thing about working up north is that there is a lot more transportation than one would think. There's helicopters scattered all over the Arctic. So we could always, even if it was a competitor, you can go fly over to that camp and shake down that engineer for that piece you need or whatever. I mean, I'd say the one that probably gets you the most is, especially as a young pilot, is when you forget your fuel cap at the fuel cache. Yeah. And then you get back to camp and your engineer goes, I think you forgot something. And then you got the old duct tape special on the range extender until they can either get you a new one or you got to go retrace your steps and see what drum you forgot it on.
For some reason, it was always my biggest fear. And thank God it never happened to me. But, you hear stories of guys taking off and the fuel caps, there's on the A-Star where you climb up on the side of the ship, there's that little footwell just to the right of the fuel cap. So people take that fuel cap off, put it in the footwell, and then forget about it, and then they'll take off and make a turn, and off goes the fuel cap into someone's house or wherever it ends up.
Maximum velocity.
I'm not going to incriminate myself, but you'd be surprised how long that fuel cap will stay in that footwell. And you know what you will notice is your fuel gauge starts fluctuating.
Yeah. A little flutter. What does this mean? It's not good.
But no, this old pilot, I forgot my fuel cap somewhere, and this old pilot taught me, he said, if every time you refuel, you put your fuel cap on your seat, you can never forget to put it back on because you're going to have to sit on it. So that became kind of my trick that I stole, that I taught anybody I taught to fly. That was put it on your seat. You can't forget it on your seat.
Solid advice. So for all the kids that are listening out there, fuel cap on your ass.
Yeah.
My CFI, he had a wicked nose. He could smell a drop of Jet A from miles away. So we'd fuel the ship. If we're in between flights, we'd fuel a ship, and I'd get back in, and we'd be a minute or two in the flight, and you'd see him like raising his nose, start sniffing. He's like, did you get fuel in your boots? And I'd look down, and there's one tiny little drop, and he could smell that. He sniffed that thing out. So my fear is, I'd put the fuel cap down the wrong way, and that little excess fuel ends up on the seat. My CFI is like, what, you idiot.
His past life, he was a narc dog for sure, right?
So I got a good fuel story. When I was a 100-hour pilot, I was asked to go out to pick up a leased helicopter. It was a Jet Ranger. I go to this guy's hangar, and he's very particular about his hangar, very clean. The floor, you could eat off this floor. Well, it's springtime, cold. It's pouring rain outside. I'm supposed to leave the next morning. He goes, I don't normally do this, but let's just roll this drum inside the hangar and we'll fuel you up in here. So tomorrow morning we just push out and away you go. Sounds good. So I start hooking up the pump, and everybody knows that you always put the hose in the machine before you plug in the power. So, if it's going to pump, it's going to go in the machine. Well, I don't know. I had the pump in, I had the caps all off. I had no hose hooked up to it. I didn't check I plugged the thing in the side of the helicopter, and the GPI pump goes, and by the time I thought to pull it out, well, hear this director of maintenance standing next to the machine. The fuel comes flying out of the pump, hits the side of the helicopter, and like he's covered from head to toe in jet fuel. And you know what? The fuel was probably about 2 degrees. So it's cold jet fuel. I'm hosing him down in his own hangar, and we've got a mess. Like, holy, and you know what? I think he's still mad at me.
You never got another Christmas card ever again, buddy.
No, but oh man, because he's ripping his shirt off, and we got the hose going. Holy,
people are going, what are those two guys doing out there?
it was ridiculous, but it was a lesson learned. Too bad it happened that way, but I never made that mistake again.
The worst part about jet fuel is it's so hard to get out, even in the wash. You throw it in the wash, and it either then contaminates your tub, and everything smells like jet fuel after you wash that the next time, or you have a way of getting out, and it's still you wash it, it still comes out and smells like fuel. You just feel like you can't win.
What did one of our guests talk about that? Like, she basically dumped a whole 2 liter of Coca-Cola in the washing machine with her.
Yeah,
and she said it kind of worked. I was just like, all right, so I'll leave that up to you guys to kind of try that out next time that happens.
Everything I own smells like jet fuel. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't even need to get near it, and it gets on me. Like, I don't know how, but I'm always got stuff. Like, I come home and my wife says, geez, were you working in the shop today? Like, you smell like you were rolling around in a drum of jet fuel. Like, no, I just did a fuel drain. Like I said, I didn't think I got any on me.
So you spoke about this here with your your dad being involved. So your family is still very much involved in the business and stuff like this, because I know your brother still works at the hangar there with you, and your dad's still very active from what I see at the trade shows.
Yeah. So so my brother's structures manager here. So he's got his S license. He's kind of the guru on everything. Like, he's a bit of a genius when it comes to structural repair, ton of experience. So he heads up that side of our business. And also dabbles in just about everything else too. Yeah, and then my dad is still he's semi-retired. I don't know if he'll ever retire. Him and my mom spend the winters in Mexico and the summers out at a cottage in north of Edmonton. But yeah, he's 72, but he's still he's called me 3 times today about 3 different things that has crossed his mind. But yeah, he's still very active. And we have Paul Hervatis, was our general manager. He's been working with Rod for 20 years. Long time expertise. Yeah, he's really the knowledge keeper. I mean, he keeps this place really running. I mean, today he's in the paint shop actually working on a helicopter. So it's everybody kind of wears a lot of hats around here. But yeah, so we're kind of in this transition where my dad's retiring and more responsibility. Well, his responsibilities are falling and getting split up between sort of all the management here. And then, yeah, like I said, Paul kind of keeps everything going.
With the next level, I guess, when you're talking about your apprentices turning to your technicians and your AMEs coming up, and now at the mix of the family, and is there a succession plan, I guess, kind of look at who are the next leaders of the business? Is it family based, or is it leadership based upon the guys that you've trained there? Kind of they know how the place, they know all the creeks and crannies and the oil spots I know they know where it came from.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
I'm going to get in trouble probably answering this one. Well, I mean, succession wise, my brother and I don't have any intentions of going anywhere. So we'll be succeeding my dad. And then Paul is going to be here and forever, I hope.
Yeah.
But like every year that goes by, more things kind of get passed around. So we try to have everybody able to play a role. Like if I'm gone, the director of maintenance, the shop foreman, Paul, Jonathan, they can all we can back each other up. So that we don't have this hierarchy where, I'm the knowledge keeper, and if I'm not here, no decisions can get made. So we try to keep, like that old way of doing it's difficult because if that person is gone or on vacation, all of a sudden everything stops. So we really try to empower that whole management team to be able to make those decisions. And, with technology now, it's pretty easy to keep everybody in touch. And everyone can have their say. We have 3 production meetings a week, and we sit down, and it's a great place to argue about how something should get done or when it should get done or what priorities. You guys have been around this industry long enough to know that your priority today, or maybe even better, my priority at 8:00 this morning is completely different now that it's 4:00.
Yeah. And if not by noon.
And the AOG phone hasn't started ringing yet because it's not quite 5:00 on Friday. Right?
Yeah. And ironically enough, I got an AOG email here.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, okay, man, it's 5:40 my time. Like, come on, bro.
Well, a friend of mine, and I think you guys probably know, is Mike Chernetz. He's an insurance broker with Willis Tower. And I always try to make a point of calling him on Friday with some fake emergency, but he answers the phone Friday afternoons. Are you my Friday 3:00? Because there's always some emergency that comes up Friday at 3:00.
Well, you know what, and and I say this respectfully here, just because you touch base of the old ways of like, it's you are genuinely like kind of a mom and pop shop that is dependable to yourself and to your customers, where they can probably, if they can't get a hold of you, they're going to get a hold of your DOM, they're going to get a hold of your dad, or they're going to hold of your brother. They can still do that, right?
We have an on-call phone. Like our main line goes to whoever's on call. It's usually us. We all take turns carrying the phone for a week. But truthfully, your customers that know you are like, there's no such thing as a personal cell phone. Your phone rings whenever. And you know what? A lot of the times our customers are our friends. So sometimes you just get a call and it's just, hey, I'm just driving somewhere. Just thought I'd call and yak for a bit. So, a lot of these relationships you have aren't just business relationships. They're personal relationships.
We know this all too well, buddy. How many calls have I gotten from you on a Friday afternoon?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a couple of our customers and like I said, friends that we try to get together. It sort of started during COVID, but we try to get together and have one of these types of meetings on camera, and everybody gets a scotch and we just talk about all the gossip and the rumors and what's going on in the industry. And it's kind of fun. And these are, some of them are my customers, but all of them are my friends. So it's a lot of fun.
Nobody brings cheeseburgers, buddy? Nobody?
No. Okay. But we do have to touch on that. John, for your information, we have a Helicopter Association in Canada does a convention, similar to HAI, just a smaller scale, just Canadians.
Which he was a member of, right? Talk
Yeah.
about that. You can't talk about that.
Yeah. I was on the board for a number of years. I'm on 2 years off for good behavior, but I'll probably run again when I'm eligible. But no, being on that board, if I could talk about that for a minute, that was amazing for me as a young person getting into the industry. Having a sort of, I don't know if you'd call it a seat at the table, but you're sitting around this boardroom table with some of these top helicopter operators, the people you just wouldn't have access to any other time. And then you make these friendships and you get to hear how these owners or managers think. It's just a totally different way of thinking when you move from being a line pilot or an AME on the floor to the big picture stuff. So I was pretty blessed to be able to sit on the board with some really amazing people and learn a ton and still, have good relationships with them on a personal level as well. But where I was going with this, we have this convention, and I don't remember how many years ago it was, Val, but I didn't know you that well, I don't think. I knew you well enough, but it was pouring rain. We're all standing in the lobby bar, and the only thing anyone's ever eaten all day is peanuts, but everyone's refusing to go anywhere because it's pouring rain.
It was cold. It was unusually cold for a Vancouver evening. Yes.
But you can imagine like the state of everybody by 7:00.
A little bit of hangry.
Yeah. So, and I think the beer was flowing pretty good. But Val comes flying in. He's got a big trench coat on, and I'm going to exaggerate the story a little bit. I see this guy in this trench coat, and it's like all of a sudden I start seeing people are eating these cheeseburgers, McDonald's cheeseburgers. Like, where the hell is this? He bought 100 cheeseburgers and he's got them all jammed, all in his pockets, and he's working the room. And so you've got guys in suits. We're eating cheeseburgers. You got ladies all dressed up, and I'm like, that guy is genius. Like that was the single, like for $200, he fed basically every customer and everybody knew who Val was.
I had dogs chasing me for weeks, by the way, after I wore that coat too. So.
I thought that is just genius. Some people take out clients for like a big fancy dinner. It's like a couple $1,000s. Here, Val's he's just killing it.
So what I'm hearing is you got to starve them. Then you feed them a bunch of beer to get them super, super hammered. And then you bring in the cheeseburgers. That's the closers, the cheeseburgers.
They were double cheeseburgers too. So they were made with love. They were like, it was, and to kind of piggyback off that here, because it's gotten a little, it's got me a little infamy across the Canadian side of the helicopter operator side of the world. We were just like Maury said, we were just kind of like a day of conference here. You just kind of sit back and you start talking. And then we were in Vancouver, and Vancouver all of a sudden got this wicked cold, rain. And I was like, I'm getting hungry. And right attached, what nobody found out was out downstairs, they had this little McDonald's courtyard. And it's like a couple minutes before they close. This is like 5 to 8 or something like that. And I look up there and I'm with two other my customers. I'm just like, I need 26 double cheeseburgers. And she's like, we're closing in 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm your paying customer. So we started chowing down food, and I said, I'm just going to bring back some of, I think, whatever we don't eat, we're going to bring back to the bar there. And that's where right away, Maury's face was that of like, why do I smell cheeseburgers? And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, there's always a few good stories that come out of that convention. This might have been with you again, Val. Were we having lunch in the lobby and they tried to stick us with a $5,000 lunch bill? I think I was with you. We were on one of these long tables and we stood at the end and we had a pint or two.
Could I plead the fifth on this one?
Yeah. There was a pile of people, and none of them were with us. We knew
in
some
Montreal.
of them.
Yes.
Is that Montreal? And then everybody kind of left. But the waitress assumed that it was our table, I guess, and we were paying for it. Well, she brought us the bill for about 20 people that had been coming and going and eating. And we're like, whoa. I had 2 pints. Oh man. I thought she was going to cry.
Yeah. That poor waitress walked away. I'm just like, they weren't our guests, man. There was people from Florida and Georgia and Western Canada and all that. And they got, everybody got liquored up real hard. And Maury and I were like, we're friendly drinking. We had 2 pints each. And also we look at the bill, it's like $1,800. I'm like, this isn't our bill. Good. Well, now that that's aired out, I'm glad that's just one of the cleaner stories that we're just going to release and talk about it there. So thanks for that, buddy. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
You've spoken, you've talked quite a bit about, your history and your kind of, your cool places that you've been up to, especially with being up in the Arctic. And there's got to be a level of encouragement here. Like what's the, like for anybody that's listening anybody that's considering it's kind of on the fence because they see the big shiny things. Otherwise, we know as those helicopters, right? So that's cool enough. But what's kind of the grabbing thing that what's the one thing that Maury can say here's my word of encouragement to you if you're considering this as a career?
I don't know, it's such a broad industry. I mean, you can get into the operating side of it and see all sorts of amazing places, not just in Canada or the US, across the whole world. I mean, you can go work in Europe. You can really go anywhere you want. And also everything's constantly changing. So if, you're not backed into a corner where I'm just going to work on this. I mean, some guys like working in an engine shop. Some guys like doing one specific thing, but you can do all of those things with your license. As an AME, I mean, you can work in a component shop, you can work in the engine shop, and then you can work on a million different types. If you want to try something different, you just go find an operator that's got a type that you're interested in and you get endorsed and away you go. I think if you look, I mean, it's the passion for the industry. I don't know, somebody, I want to quote my wife, but she used to make fun of me like you were going off to daycare because it doesn't feel like you're going to work. So what did you do today? Oh, I hung out with Val all day and we laughed and we told stories and we hung out together for 8 hours. And then after we decided to stay after work and having a beer, it's like my wife, I guess to back myself up, I think all wives or husbands of aviation passionate people are really the unsung heroes because let's face it, it's not an easy industry to put up with all the time. Right. You do a lot of travel, but man, is it a lot of fun? And you need the support of your wife or your husband or whoever to let you go out and play every day. Yeah. And that's kind of how I look at it is I get to come to work every day and for the most part hang out with people that are as passionate about it as I am and all have good sense of humor. You meet some of the greatest human beings in aviation and some of the craziest people. Like it's everything in between. It's just a lot of fun. I think about
individuals walking through a trench coat. Just putting that out there.
Well, think about this. Could you, any of you guys picture yourselves sitting at a boardroom table for the rest of your life or hammering out reports for the rest of your life? Like it's cringy to think about. Like for me, just my personality.
Yeah.
Me too. Yep.
Unfortunately, that's a part of my world. But you're right. It's
not every day. You're not doing 8 hours in front of a screen every day.
No. I live in the world where I'm comfortable with the guys on the shop floor talking about installs of drive shafts to bearings to whole engine completions, right? And then kind of going about that. Yeah, I feel it's. I think to emphasize what you said there. It's the passion behind our industry is massive, and as for to the outsiders that are listening, everyone says it's cool because it's such a massive industry. But if you really think about it, we're really not that big because we all kind of know each other. We either worked for or with or across from each other. So that's the passion is probably the right description for our industry. Thanks for saying that. Yeah.
Well, and you kind of hit the nail on the head. It is a small industry. If you're hiring somebody or looking at an aircraft, it's maybe 2 phone calls. Have you ever heard of this guy, Val? Oh yeah. Oh, he's a good guy. Everybody knows each other and, what businesses do what. And everybody is kind of, whether you're a competitor or not, everybody kind of helps each other out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the MRO world, obviously we have competition, but truthfully, like when I need some help, I call my competitor. Hey, have you ever seen this? Has this ever happened to you? Do you have this part you can lend me? I'll replace your stock. So there's a lot of helping because at the end of the day, I'm trying to help an operator get their aircraft serviceable. And that's what they're doing too. So we're constantly trading advice, and let's face it, you're trading a lot of staff too, because, a guy that works for me might go work for a different guy if he moves to Calgary or,
you don't know if it'll kind of lead right back to you again. That's the beautiful thing of it, right?
There's labor shortage across, I think, every industry. Yeah. Aviation, I think, is hit a little harder because you need so much technical knowledge, and it takes years to build that person. So when, you have to have the right people, but you got to have like smart, passionate people who have years and years of experience. And those people are getting harder and harder to find.
Do you find it challenging, especially like kind of tying into what you just said there, having somebody either choose to stay with you or leave you? You guys look after quite a bit of aircraft. There are different platforms of aircraft there. having somebody specialized in each one of the aircraft. You kind of just go to the regular, kind of what you got pulled into earlier. Like, we're going to send Maury out to this particular site because he knows how to fly it. Do you do the same thing with your techs? Because you cover, like, let's name off some of the aircrafts that you support there.
The Vertical MRO podcast is powered by Vertical Magazine, the rotorcraft industry's #1 trusted multimedia resource. Visit Vertical Mag Media on YouTube to gain access to exclusive videos featuring operators in the field and more unique content from the pages of Vertical. Subscribe today to stay informed and inspired.
Typically now what we're seeing is A-star, so, BA, B2, B3, a mainstay, I guess. And then, and then the Bell products. You've got, the 206 series, 407. We do a little tiny bit of medium work. There's other MROs in Canada and not far from us that's what they do. Like that, they are really good at that. So we tend to not see a lot of that work. So yeah, I'd say those are kind of our biggest. And we train all of our guys over time to be able to work on everything. It's really hard to have a guy because if he's the guy there, or he's the guy that you have available and he can't work on that type, it's hard. It costs a lot of money to keep everybody up to date and trained on engines and all these airframes. But at the end of the day, it's worth it. People come and go, and I think it's important that you keep all those relationships. Even if a guy unfortunately decides to move on, I think you're sort of getting around to that point is, in 5 years, 10 years, he might come back, or you know what, maybe he's at a point in his career where he's a contract guy and calls you up and says, hey, I'm working a 3-and-3 for so-and-so, and on my 3 off, I come help you out for a couple of weeks. And then you already know the guy and you have a relationship with him, and you can bring some of that talent back to your team.
What do you think of that one, John? What do you think?
Yeah, 100% agree. I feel like too, when it comes to, this guy may have left your company, but his friend might be looking for a new job. And he's like, hey, I just left this place and their culture's really great. I love working there, but I left because I wanted to go to this new place for whatever the reason is. Whereas I think some people, they get their feelings hurt that someone left, and they, kind of dress that person down and kind of leave them with a bad taste in their mouth. And then when that person's faced that same situation, they're not going to recommend their buddy to go put an application with this company. I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days of yelling at somebody for leaving, because everybody wants to try different things. And I mean, as long as they don't leave you in a lurch, like leave you in the middle of the busy season or something. But no, I think we've had really great luck. We have.
Well, you're kind of in a secluded area, so you really don't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah, it's a captive audience. But we don't have a lot of turnover. I mean, we've got our director of maintenance started as an apprentice with us. Our component shop manager, he's been here for as long as Avialta's been here. 41 years he's worked here. So we keep people, and I think we do a lot of things. I mean, you're talking about culture, John. I think we have a really good culture here at Avialta, and everybody has a voice. Everybody's door is open. But we do, we try and do some staff events. I do Wiener Wednesday every second Wednesday of the month.
Whoa, what?
I went and bought one of those, those big hot dog rollers from like 7-Eleven.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I loaded up with hot dogs. You remember in like grade school, they used to have Wiener Wednesday. So we do hot dogs. You didn't? Maybe it was a Yellowknife thing.
Maybe it could be just a Yellowknife thing. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so we do, hot dogs on every second Wednesday. And then we do free lunch Friday every last Friday of the month. So I just did up a huge chili and everything for, 35 guys. We just had lunch here today.
Margarita Mondays, Taco Tuesdays, Wiener Wednesdays. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I never put a ton of thought into it. Who doesn't like free food Fridays, right? But I didn't expect, like during COVID, it got pretty challenging because you can't really have a big cookout. And so we skipped a few months, I think, at the beginning of COVID. And I was really surprised how many guys were kind of a little bit put out. Like they really look forward to it. So we've been having a lot of fun with that when we do a company golf tournament every fall. Mm-hmm. And then at some point in the summer, we go out paintballing.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah. And like my dad's 72. He's out paintballing.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm going tonight. And it's going to suck. I coach here locally here for a football team, and they decided to go paintballing when it's -6 outside right now, Celsius. So
Oh yeah, you're going to get peppered with frozen paintballs.
Yeah.
What you're talking about, I really admire, because a good culture doesn't happen by accident at a company. It takes a lot of forethought and intentionality from someone like yourself in a position that can make that happen. So that's what people are looking for, in my opinion. They're looking for places where they can go and work and enjoy the people they're working with and feel supported by the folks that they're working for.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Kudos to you guys.
As much, and I think you kind of like, you're alluding to this here, as much as you're interviewing somebody else, they have to make sure that, they fit for you as you fit for them when it comes to kind of finding that right person for that job, and especially when it comes to AME, AMPs. So good for you good for you guys for kind of keeping that kind of loyalty to your customers, or to yourselves, I should say.
Yeah, we try to have as much fun as we can. And, when this time of year is, it's the last push. Every aircraft's got to be out by May 1st. Everybody's working long hours. There's always tension. It's probably the least fun time of the year, because everybody's stressed out. Everybody's putting in long hours. And just because you're busy at work, obviously, it doesn't mean that your kid doesn't have soccer practice, hockey practice, swimming lessons, gymnastics. You got family pressures. So once sort of everything gets done, that's a good time. That's when we try to do a lot of these things. We actually did a company canoeing trip once. Which, I mean, if you picture a whole bunch of aviation people in a canoe on the North Saskatchewan River, it's exactly how you're picturing it. We almost had a couple capsize, and then we should have really been supervised, but they say, okay, don't shore up all your canoes. So I look, and here there's like 4 canoes all all holding together, and they're going down the river, and they're doing these pirouettes, and I thought, this was a terrible idea. We're gonna lose 3 or 4 engineers on this. Definitely an apprentice is gonna die. There's no way around that. But
the apprentice goes back home and tells his mom and dad about it. I don't want to go back.
So we did this whole team building, and it was a lot of fun. And then took a school bus back to the hangar. We'd rented all these bouncy castles, and we had one of those, the dunk tank. Yeah. And we had all their families join us, and we did a big barbecue, and we had Paul, our general manager, and my dad, Rod, in the dunk tank, and the staff and everybody were throwing the balls at dunking them in.
Take your shots, yeah.
Yeah. It looked pretty cold.
Nice.
I somehow got away unscathed, but
yeah, you're the likable one. That's telling you something. Or Pops, good job.
Yeah. So it's Avialta's been around 40 years now, 41 years, and we kind of missed our. We didn't do a big party, so that's kind of the next thing on the horizon is we want to plan some kind of big hangar party.
That's cool.
And try and get everybody, operators. And the tricky thing is planning a time, because when are people not busy? Fire season's pushing into October these days, so.
Yeah, which is nuts. Like I heard a couple already that there's some fires already spotted just north of you there, and there's still snow on the ground.
Yeah, well, they've been burning all winter. It's that, I think up around high level, there's a lot of peat moss and stuff.
Yeah, peat moss grass, yeah.
And it just burns all winter long. And then when the temperature's just right, it flares up and lights some grass fire or something.
I don't know if you heard about this, John. It smolders in minus 30 degrees Celsius weather. It's crazy.
Yeah, why? Right down to the root system. Yep.
Like, man, so the creativity of a good facility, and the creativities of the managers, and then kind of keeping a positive aspect on everybody, and kind of like what John hit there was the culture of everything. Someone walking into this industry, that's kind of the recap of if you're looking at this particular career, have those as your pillars to kind of have a successful and long career. Because you're right, once you're in it, and I've said this on a couple of other podcasts, once you're into helicopters, man, there's really only one way out. Like we're kind of like the Cosa Nostra, man. There's only one way out.
Well, so there's a couple different things I've seen in my career. So you've got guys that lifelong careers in aviation, AMEs, pilots. That one way out you're talking about, like they stay relevant in some way or another,
right?
Until they're
no longer there. Yeah.
And then you've got guys that spend their whole year or their whole lives in aviation, and like the day they walk out of the hangar, they're gone.
Yeah.
Like they hand out all the little specialty tools that they've built over a career to all the apprentices. And then they roll their toolbox, and it's like
witness relocation programs.
Yeah, they're like, where did he go? Like,
yeah. I feel like the first scenario is the more common one, as people, you talk about the passion that folks have in the industry for aviation, something you don't really lose. There's so much learning that takes place over the course of your career. I think you don't get burnt out in the fact like, I'm tired of dealing with this one thing, because there's so many different things to deal with and master. I feel like that passion for most people does not disappear, and you leave and you still want to be connected and be relevant in your industry and in your community. I love our community for that reason. You talked about your customers being your friends. It really illustrates how connected our community really is. We're so nerdy about our industry that we're sitting here on a talk show about the thing that we do for work. Right. Right. And I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, can you ever picture a world where you're not going to go blasting out the back door onto your patio when you hear a helicopter to see who it is or what it is? Like, my kids make fun of me. They're like, don't stand in front of the door if you hear a helicopter outside, because dad'll just bulldoze you right over.
Preach.
Yeah,
absolutely. I get made fun of, man. Like, when we're sitting there, like, in especially midsummer practices, and I'm coaching this football team here, and they're like, "Hey, Coach Val, what is that?" I'm like, "I know who's flying around. That's so and so's Jet Ranger here." And what's the horsepower? It's like, it's a C-20B. It ain't that bad.
Or my wife's most annoying one, or she gets annoyed because I'm constantly correcting. You watch a Hollywood movie,
yes,
and they got a medium blade sound, and it's an A-star.
Yeah,
you're like, no, that is the wrong
That's
sound.
Bullshit.
Clip.
That's fake.
That helicopter can't do that. Yeah. And she's like,
my wife gives this to me all the time. We're sitting there watching movies, and all of a sudden a helicopter will come on, and she'll look at me. I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Well, say it," and I'll call the bird out right there on the show. I'm like, "It's a Bell 212."
Yeah. Well, in the first clip, it was a 204, and then for some reason now it's a 205. So it's not even the same type.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What's that one movie that, oh my God, everyone asked me, like, I'm like, listen, you two guys are flyers and pilots. You guys know more about this than I do. But they kept on asking me, San Andreas, tip the hat.
Oh my God. My son said that the other, Dad, can you tip the hat? I'm like, that is not a real thing.
It's Hollywood.
I'm a little hurt that he asked me. I haven't taught him yet.
Yeah. Did you say tip the glass or tip the hat? What are you talking about here, son?
No, I mean, so I guess the one thing is we were talking about family business and succession, and the one thing I'm not bringing your kids into the family business is a big one. What does that look like? Do you want your kids to be in this industry? What we've kind of come up with as a family is that obviously you're welcome. Like, this industry is a ton of fun, and if you really are passionate and you want to do it, then you should. Except for you can't work for us until you've gone and worked for somebody else first.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because that was one of my, like, I worked for Great Slave, and I flew for a couple other companies. My brother worked for Air Tindy up in Yellowknife, and then he worked for Chinook Aviation out of Springbank. So we came here with aviation experience. We didn't build it here. So that was one of the things that we were, like, if our kids ever wanted to get involved, that would be one of our...
Solid advice, dude.
I think part of it, is probably go wreck somebody else's stuff. And then
right. Before you liability on our insurance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think from the flying perspective, if my kids want to get their pilot's license, being probably fixed wing license, that's where I started, is I think that's an amazing thing for a young person to get their hands on, even if they never decide to go down that road and get into aviation. Because that first feeling when you solo by yourself, there's absolutely nothing that could be better than that. Once you've done that, you feel like you can just about do anything. That instructor just gets out and goes, "You're good. Go do a circuit."
I was like, wait, come back in here, please.
Where are you going?
I've told this story quite a few times. My first hover solo, the instructor gets out, and we're flying in Long Beach, California. It's not hot. It's mid 70s. Flying an R22, both doors on. Obviously, there's no air conditioning in the R22. And I'm wearing sunglasses, and the moment he gets out, I start sweating. As I think most people probably do, realizing that your instructor's leaving you, and you're probably going to kill yourself. So I pick up to a hover, and the sweat starts pouring down, and like my sunglasses are fogging up because I'm sweating so much. So I was like, going IFR on a solo hover at 2 feet off the ground. So long story short, put it down and take my sunglasses off. But man, I was a ring of sweat after that first solo.
Your instructor probably came back. You didn't have to cry, man. You're okay.
But even being an apprentice engineer, right? Or, freshly licensed, you go off with the aircraft out to the great wander with your pilot, and you have a snag, and the engineer looks at me, and I'm like, don't look at me. Like, I can't help you here. But it's you're off on your own, and you got to make your own decisions in it. I think it's an amazing feeling, because you've got an aircraft, you got pilot, you got passengers, and you got to be on.
And you're not on the ground. Like
right.
Yeah. You kind of got some distance between you and terra firma.
Even as 100-hour pilot, your first job, you go out in the Jet Ranger, go up to the Arctic, and you got your apprentice engineer with you. So you're basically the blind leading the blind. But man, oh man, we have a lot of fun.
Sure, yeah. The adrenaline's flowing. You're just jacked. Awesome stuff. Buddy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I can't thank you enough here. Keep spreading the positivity. Keep doing what you're doing. You've been a great force and a friend there, buddy. And I just, like I said, I can't thank you enough for kind of spreading the positivity with us and on this show, especially here. Hopefully the listeners get a kick out of you as much as I do every day when I talk to you. Last question. I'll go ahead. I was going to say last question.
No, I was just going to say thank you. No, thank you very much for having me. I was a little bit nervous when you asked me. My wife and kids encouraged me to do it. They said, you never stop talking, so it shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah. Oh, I noticed that there's that windsock behind you just keeps on going right now. So
yeah.
Thanks, buddy. You're one of the best ones here, and we'll end it on this one here, as we do with all my shows. Here is the last question: pineapple. Does it belong on a pizza?
Oh, it belongs on everything.
God,
oh, wow.
Damn it! Oh,
this conversation was going so well.
Damn it!
Well, you can edit that out. I can do it. No, it does not. So you can pick which one you want to go.
We'll have to double dip that edit now.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you for doing what you're doing, and keep doing what you're doing there with the family business there. And like I said, man, look forward to seeing you. I'll probably be out to you not too long before here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll get a chance to put a pint back. So I appreciate it, brother.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors.
Thank you to our sponsor, Bell. Bell proudly supports the Vertical MRO podcast and their vision to share valuable insights into helicopter maintenance, repair, and overhaul. Bell is dedicated to keeping our customers in the sky and on their missions with industry-leading global customer solutions.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
The Vertical MRO podcast is powered by Vertical Magazine, the rotorcraft industry's #1 trusted multimedia resource. Visit Vertical Mag Media on YouTube to gain access to exclusive videos featuring operators in the field and more unique content from the pages of Vertical. Subscribe today to stay informed and inspired.
As our call for conversation with Maury comes to a close, we reflect on the vital role of helicopter maintenance in ensuring the safety and reliability of these awesome flying machines. Through Maury's wealth of experience and expertise, we've gained some pretty valuable insights into the meticulous care and the attention to detail required to keep these bad boys in peak condition. From routine inspections to complex repairs, his dedication to his craft exemplifies the unwavering commitment of maintenance professionals in our industry. As we bid farewell to Maury, we're reminded of the importance of teamwork, diligence, and a passion for excellence in maintaining the integrity of these awesome aerial marbles. Join us in extending the gratitude to Maury for sharing his expertise and wisdom with us today. As we conclude this episode, we invite you to stay tuned to our podcast for more enlightening discussions and some fascinating insights into the world of helicopters. And as always, thanks for letting us, the Helicasts team, into your world. Keep flying with the rotors churning, and we'll see you in the air. Val, over and out.
This has been the Vertical MRO Podcast. Join us next time for another edition of the Vertical MRO podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts.